22 minutes now before 8 o'clock. Cold fusion was once the hottest new scientific discovery. 5 years ago on this broadcast, we were talking about it extensively. But almost overnight, this revolutionary new energy source was being called a big hoax, and everyone thought that the case was closed. But in an exclusive interview, our science editor, Michael Guillen, discovered that it wasn't. He's with us this morning from Boston to explain. Michael?
That's right. Good morning, Charlie. You know, I had to travel halfway around the world to track down the two scientists who were at the center of that controversy 5 years ago. And what I discovered, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people. They became overnight sensations. Stanley Pons of the University of Utah and Martin Fleischmann of the University of Southampton in England. Their simple little device, run on a battery, could produce the energy of the sun in a bottle, at room temperature no less. Or so they claimed. But when scientists here at MIT and elsewhere tried to duplicate the experiment, they failed. The whole idea of cold fusion was soon discredited. The story disappeared from the headlines, and Pons and Fleischmann themselves disappeared from the scene. Where did they go? To the south of France, that's where. A stone's throw from Monte Carlo, Saint-Tropez, and the French Riviera.
We have to get this next batch of experiments.
Pons and Fleischmann now work in a $15 million lab created for them by the Japanese. In retrospect, they recall they really had no choice but to leave the United States.
If there's opposition to your work, you really have to say, what is our judgment of the situation? If we want to stay here, we have to stop this work. And I said to Stan, shall we stop it? And he said, no. So I said, well, we'll have to go away then.
We could have stopped and just...
We could have stopped.
No comment, you know.
Why didn't you?
Well, we didn't want to give this up. We wanted to keep this line of research going.
Pons and Fleischmann are now trying to improve and perfect their original device, in which electricity flows into a piece of palladium metal immersed in heavy water. The electrochemical reaction allegedly produces far more energy than it consumes. But as this lab video shows, the devices tend to boil over and dry out after just a short while.
We have been able to achieve heat output at boiling point for 15 minutes. So now we have to devise cells which can be maintained under boiling conditions for 3 months, because that is the information which is required in order to develop a technically useful device.
So is this the latest version of your cold fusion device, Dan?
This is the latest version. It's been running for about 4 days. It has the advantage of condensing, collecting the liquid, and returning it to the bottom so we don't lose it by boiling and evaporation.
And how much energy is this baby putting out for you?
Right now, about 20 watts.
Which is not a lot of energy.
No, this is a low power test, which will give us the information we need to scale up to our goal of 10 kilowatts.
And how soon do you think you could do that?
4.5 to 5 years.
Even though many American scientists say cold fusion violates the known laws of physics and chemistry, foreign investors are big supporters, especially the Japanese.
We support the cold fusion research just because there is something unknown, apparently, in it. And I think the right attitude for the scientist is to look for something unknown, unveiled.
Back in the United States, physicist Eugene Mallove is editing a brand new monthly magazine on cold fusion, which hit the newsstands just this month.
Like anything else, like electricity, like television, all of these things were, in most cases, thought to be totally impossible, never happen in a million years, or if ever, but they all have come true. Cold fusion is too good to be true, but it's real.
Cold fusion is becoming a hot topic, Mallove says, investigated with new vigor by hundreds of scientists worldwide.
The very first application, we strongly believe, will be a home heating unit, and followed very quickly thereafter will be a small electric generator, which will then get bigger, and eventually, in the real near term, I would say, a few years, I would say, we'll have an electric generator that will power a house.
Rather than changing the whole design.
Pons and Fleischmann say they don't feel bitter towards the United States, only disappointed at what they perceive as the closed-mindedness of its scientific community.
The whole system is guided against innovative science. It is only guided to making a better product, not to look at new things, and you are damned for looking at new things.
The public in America and the system has to devise a more effective way to do innovative science and technology. If it doesn't do that, America will really slide down the scale.
So the two scientists still believe there's something there. Do they have something or not? When we come back, we'll talk further with our science editor, Dr. Michael Guillen, when Good Morning America continues. Quarter of, and back with us now to talk about this mysterious phenomenon known as cold fusion. From Boston, our science editor, Michael Guillen. Michael, the fact that scientists Pons and Fleischmann are working in over across the ocean and not in this country speaks volumes about what the U.S. scientific community thinks of their work, and I gather that that opinion hasn't improved much in 5 years.
Oh, not at all. In fact, we're already hearing from the scientists in this community about this piece we ran this morning. They're completely against it. One scientist has recently written a book called Cold Fusion, the Scientific Fiasco of the Century, and I think that pretty well summarizes the opinion of many scientists in this country, most particularly physicists. Chemists still tend to be more sympathetic towards this phenomenon.
Why is there such a split?
I think it's because, first of all, it's a phenomenon that on the surface of it sounds outrageous. I mean, let me give you an example. That we've always believed that in order to fuse two atoms together, you need huge temperatures, like 500 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the basis of the whole multi-billion-dollar hot fusion program in this country. So for anyone to suggest cold fusion, that you can fuse two atoms at room temperature, is sort of like saying that you can create diamonds out of coal dust on your kitchen stove. That's as preposterous as it sounds to most scientists. Second of all, no one really has an explanation for how this is happening. And thirdly of all, of the explanations that are being suggested, most of them seem to defy the known laws of science. And for all those reasons, the camps are really split over this issue.
You felt it important enough to go over and talk to these people. It may violate all the laws, all the known laws, but maybe there's something there or not. What do you think?
You know, I'm a scientist, Charlie, and I'm a journalist. As a journalist, I embrace the whole concept of free press. As a scientist, I embrace the notion of academic freedom. I'm not here this morning to say who's right and who's wrong. I'm here to say that science has to flourish, has to be allowed to flourish in an environment of academic freedom.
I'm just asking, might there be
freely.
something there? I'm just asking, might there be something there?
I think there might be, Charlie. When I saw their lab in south of France, I mean, they did not restrict me in the way in which I was able to investigate the equipment and so forth. And I was only there for a couple of days. It's hardly long enough to make a definitive evaluation. But they didn't withhold any evidence. I was allowed to see the equipment, and I'm thinking that they have half a chance of maybe having something here. It may not be the cold fusion they're talking about, but I think there's half a chance that there is some phenomenon here that is unknown to us.
Well, potentially, it would revolutionize energy sources. It would get rid of all fossil fuels and give us very cheap energy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in concept, if this thing works, I mean, you're going to have a source of energy that depends on extracting fusion energy from water. And as you know, 2/3 of the planet is covered by water. So it has the potential of really revolutionizing things. I think these folks just need a fair hearing, and the 2 or 3 years they were given in this country is not hearing enough. That's my bottom line.
Well, they're having their chance to look at it, albeit over there and not here. Michael Guillen, thank you very much. It is 12 minutes before the hour. What drives Danny DeVito up the wall or down the wall? We'll find out. We'll be right back.